Chris, just to fall flat at the start like that, just what did you see from the group there that led to such?
Then we missed a bunch of shots early. Jaden had some good looks. Mike had some good looks. They didn't go down. They led the runouts, and then we started trying to force it all, individually, one-on-one, and I think we had, a bunch of turnovers in that next phase of the first quarter. And, that obviously got the crowd into it, them going. And then we just struggled to find a rhythm. Everyone was kind of trying to do it all by themselves. We lost our connectivity, but all credit to the Thunder. They certainly deserved this. They played outstanding. We came up short in a lot of ways. So
to lose this decisively, is there just a kind of a level of disappointment in a moment this big to kind of answer?
I mean, if you lose, you lose, John. Like all losses are disappointment for us. So yeah. So.
Chris, obviously you gave credit to the Thunder, but the games you played here were far different than the games you played at home.
Yeah.
Like, as you look at that group, they're young, they're in your same conference.
Sure.
And they could be there for years to come.
Sure.
How do you view them as an obstacle moving forward for your group?
Well, obviously, outstanding team, well built, super deep. They got an identity and a style of play that suits them. They got a bunch of young players, and it looks very, very promising. But one thing we've learned about the league, it looked promising for Boston a year ago. It looked promising for Milwaukee for a few years. The league is so hard right now. Obviously health factors into it. Roster construction, being able to afford the tax, all these things come into play at some point. That's why, you got to go for it now. You really do. Whenever you're in the moment, you got to go for it right now. And, these guys are well positioned to do that.
Coach, two questions. One, what do you think Ant learned from this series that he'll take moving forward? And two, it certainly hurts everybody, but Mike Conley sitting at almost 40 years old, his third opportunity, didn't get it. I don't know if you saw his emotions or how he felt.
So, Mike is super upset, but the key. I'll start with that part of the question. Nobody. I think we all wanted to go as far and win it all for Mike Conley, if not for anybody else in our locker room. Is what he's meant to us, what he. Who he is as a person. We still have him next year, and the key to these things right now in the league is trying to get here as many times as possible. We just talked about the parity in the league, so the key is get there as many times, and it's very hard to do, but Mike is sometimes maybe not. Maybe Mike. Maybe it works out for Mike in a different way. Maybe he wins one as a coach. Maybe he wins one as a general manager. There's a lot of things that can happen for you in your future, but we're going to keep battling for him and for the organization. What did Ant learn? I think obviously he's got to learn to play against that physicality and that type of kind of holding all the time. I think, they made it really hard for him. I thought for a lot of the series he did make the right play, and, we preach that to him all the time. Yeah, we need him to be aggressive for sure. He's got to find some easier buckets. I got to help him do that. I think we were never able to establish something consistent with him, and that's on us as much as anybody. So,
Chris, just over the course of the series against this opponent, just how close to
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
How close to perfect did you have to try to play against these guys, given what they could do to you in a short stretch of time?
No, you're never going to play perfect. So we don't even set out to kind of play that way. It's pretty simple, right? They've beaten us more than we've beaten them this season. But every single time they've beaten us, we've had 18 to 20 plus turnovers. Every time we've beaten them, we've had 10 to 12. It starts there, and that gives you a chance. That gives you the best chance. And again, we turned it over at 21 times tonight. So.
what did you just see in terms of the turnovers? Like, I know you thought that it was sometimes in the Golden State series more of a product of losing focus late in games, but they were high turnover performances, and so were these. Like, why do you think that kind of reared its head?
Yeah, we just kind of we started. We didn't reverse the ball well enough. I mean, there was a crowd on one side of the floor, and when we would throw the ball away from the crowd, we'd come right back into the crowd. And they're super handsy and physical, and they just were taking it from us in those spaces. We had to get the ball to the other side of the floor. We just didn't do that consistently well. The initial drive has to be to pass, and a lot of times these guys were just trying to score off of those drives, and those plays were never really going to be there. So,
Chris, I remember you said at the beginning of the season when it started slow, it was going to take a while for the cake to bake with this team, and it did, and obviously not the end result that you were hoping for this season. But reflecting, I know it's right now, but kind of reflecting on that process and that challenge and the accomplishment of it, what goes through your head?
I mean, I was just very proud of the guys. It was definitely a challenging season in a lot of ways. They stuck with it. They stuck with each other. They stuck with me. It wasn't always pretty, but we played our best basketball when it mattered, which was down the stretch. We found some things that we could repeat, and it was. I remember having a conversation with Anthony, like, I don't know, mid-season. I said, what do you think a good season feels like? What do you think that looks like for us right now? Like, and he said, let's get into the playoffs, win around, and see where we go. And it was exactly my thought at the time, too. I felt like if we can get into the playoffs and win around, like, there's no reason we couldn't go farther. And at the time, we were not a very fully formed team. Like, we had a lot of struggles right at that point in time. But that was the goal. And, guys kind of shifted their emphasis. And, so I got to be proud of that. I mean, at this point in time, you want to go further. But, we got to try to lay a foundation where we can keep learning. So.
Is there anything roster-wise you think you need against a defense like that to kind of continue to complement Ant? It felt like a lot of times he was the only one who could really break down off the bounce, especially tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think the league is, the more handlers you have, I think it's especially with all the switching and, with these guys with their gaps and stuff like that, you got to have guys who can go somewhere, break the paint, make the play. I'm excited. We got a lot of good young players on our roster here that didn't necessarily get the run that maybe they should have this season. But, I really like where we are, and I'm sure our front office will do a great job in the offseason and the draft because they always do.
Just reflecting on the 26-5 run you had leading up to the conference finals, that group and that cohesion and momentum that you put together, do you feel like that's replicable realistically going into next year in terms of this is going to be what our core looks like?
I do think it's replicable. I do think next season, is going to be extremely hard in the West. I mean, even harder than this year. I mean, there might not be teams in a quote-unquote rebuilding phase next year. They might have 15 teams going for it next year. Like a great season in the West for some teams might be 42-40. I mean, that's insane if you think about it. And but I do think we've found some stuff that we can repeat and that can be part of who we are. I think, we definitely need to lengthen the rotation. We got some young guys who are itching to play and I know can help us. We saw it from Jalen and we certainly saw it from TJ here. I'm pretty excited about that. So.
Yeah, you talked about how hard the West is, and you talked about bites of the apple before, and like you said, sustained success is almost impossible in this conference.
Yeah.
Does that make these moments hurt more when you get to the doorstep twice? And like, obviously you have a young team, a young core, and it figures to have chances to get back here, but like, just knowing how difficult the road is.
Yeah. No, I mean, this hurts because you're competitive. It doesn't. I don't think there's any like larger perspective that we won't ever get back. I don't assume that we will. You got to put the work in. We were beat by the better team. So, you fight and you fight and you fight, but they played better, they're better. And so at that point in time, like, I'm not one of these guys who takes losses, into the summer with me. We'll learn and we'll regroup, but, the better team won this series. And, I'm proud of our guys and our organization for getting here. So,
Chris, Rudy during the regular season, maybe not, you're probably in the play-in or below that without the production and consistency that he gave you during the regular season. It was a little bit shorter minutes and stuff in the postseason. When you think about his impact on this team over the course of the season, do you distinguish between the playoffs and the regular season and what he was able to do for you?
Not really. I mean, we know going into the playoffs, it can be matchup based, it can be style based, it can be like you're just chasing certain things out there or whatnot. I mean, Rudy has been great for us. He's been great since he's gotten here. I think by his own admission, he returned to form as the season went along. He didn't have the same start that he had at the end, and that can be said for a lot of our guys and our team in general, as we just talked about. So, and Rudy's mature. He's at a point right now in his career where he understands these things, and of course he's fiercely competitive and he wants to play all the minutes all the time. And when we were just down, and so much of this series was us trying to find consistent offense, and the way they were matching up and stuff like that. We got to do a better job of maximizing him as an offensive player in the little ways that we can and have done in the past. This year was not a good job by us in that capacity. So, that's one thing I would say for Rudy, where I know he does get frustrated. We got to find him. He is open, and we got to find him. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank
you. And just what did you feel in the first quarter that just allowed them to get on top of you guys so quickly and let the game get out of hand?
They came ready to play. We didn't. When you lose a game like this, it's not really too much to break down. They just did what they were supposed to do and won the game.
Why don't you think you guys came ready to play?
I don't know. They dominated the game from the tip. And can't do nothing but tip my hat to those guys. They came ready, man. So good job by them.
And just what did you maybe learn throughout the course of this series? I know it's really quick in the aftermath here, but as you kind of maybe reflect on the series a little bit here, what are the big themes that you take away from this for your game?
For my game, I don't know. Good question. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet, so good question. I'll come back to you later.
Mike, as you kind of think about the journey this team took this year, I know it stings in the moment, but just kind of how do you feel about this team and where it got to at this point in the season?
We overcame a lot to get to this point. It was never an easy road for us at all. Proud of the way that we, gave ourselves this opportunity. Obviously, it hurts right now, but just looking back at everything that we had to kind of go through and, lineup changes and different guys, different situations throughout the season. Nobody thought we'd be in this situation this time, at this point of the year. So just got to think of that as a positive.
Mike, so many of the guys and Finch have talked about wanting to win this and win it, for you and to see your success in your career. Where are you just at from a personal standpoint right now?
It hurts, it hurts more than, I don't think anybody can really feel what I feel. I can't ask them to feel that because they haven't been around as long and seen how, few opportunities you get at this, this chance. So for me, it's gonna take a while just to kind of dissect what we just did and weren't able to accomplish. But at the same time, proud of my team, proud of these guys. Man, they really fought, not just for me, but just for the whole team. They did a great job of bonding together in the right time just to give ourselves this chance. So I appreciate them more than anything, and we're gonna try this thing again next year.
And I know we talked about this a lot over the course of the years, but 2.5 years with Mike, just what is playing with him, over that time been like for you?
It's been great. Love Mike. Call him Unc. OG. Yeah, disappointed. Couldn't make it happen for him again this year, but like you said, we'll be right back. Try to make it happen for him again next year. Come a little more prepared, be ready. We know what to expect, so should be fun. Gearing up for next year.
And you guys are in the Western Conference 2 years in a row. They were the number one team in the West 2 years in a row. How do you view them as a obstacle in the future? And they obviously play a very specialized style, so unique to them own. How can you guys prepare between now and next year's playoffs to be better against that style?
That's so long from now, I don't know. But yeah, they're a great team. Well coached. Yeah, top to bottom, they're pretty good. So just tip my hat to those guys. Congrats and happy for them.
And what would you say, given, they have a bunch of switchable defenders and, throughout the series it seemed like, a lot of the ball pressure that they had it got to, some of you guys with the turnover, especially today. What can you just say about, some of the uniqueness that they have defensively and some of the problems that they can cause for you?
Yeah, they got a small lineup that they throw out there. I think with like Caruso at the 5, just a bunch of different lineups, man. Stuff that you really don't see. Kind of like the old Warriors would do. Go small, put Draymond at the 5. Yeah, and they super handsy. They pluck at the ball all night. They pressure the ball to get you out of your comfort zone, running plays and stuff. So they do a pretty good job, man.
And then also, like, it seems like they had inevitable runs kind of in this series. Like game 1, they went out big. You guys started to get a run. Same thing. They come back, respond.
Yeah.
Game 2, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing today. What can you just say about, how frustrating kind of is that, being able to respond to each of the punches that,
Yeah.
they throw?
It's not frustrating, man. It's a part of the game. They're just like I said, man, once again, they're a really good team. Everyone here knows it. It's no surprise to nobody that this team is pretty good. Yeah, so yeah, they was ready, man. They're very prepared. And like I said before, well coached, top to bottom.
And you won a gold medal, so you know what it's like to be a champ. You know what it's like to get to the championship game. NBA side, however, you came up short twice. Knowing what it's like to be on the winning side, how much does it hurt, and what does it feel like to come up short of the finals 2 years in a row?
It's exciting. I don't know why people would think it would hurt. I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm 23. I get to do it a whole bunch of times. I'm hurt more so for myself, for Mike. I came up short for Mike. Like I said, we tried last year. We couldn't get it. We tried again this year. We're gonna try again next year. But hurting is a terrible word to use. I'm good. Yeah.
And considering, like, looking at Mike and his longevity, how hard it is to get there, does that put this in perspective at all too?
Yeah. I'm gonna work my butt off this summer. Nobody's gonna work harder than me this summer. I tell you that much. So, yeah, I'll try to make it happen again for Mike.
Mike, just in this moment, it does hurt so much, but how much do you look at what you all accomplished this season to get here 2 years in a row, something this franchise has never done before?
It's special to be a part of a team that, can handle a lot of the adversity that we went through and come out on the other end and be in this situation that we're in. It's disappointing for us, disappointing for our fans, disappointing for everybody at the moment, but man, we work, we do the right things. We, come in early, leave late. We do everything we can to try to prepare ourselves for this long season and the ups and downs of it. And to be back in the situation again says a lot about our team, our coaches, our players' resiliency throughout the season, and something that we just got to keep building on, keep learning from. It's unfortunate, but like the best lesson is going through it, with your own experience, and these guys are feeling it. Obviously, I've felt this situation, and hopefully we just learn and get better from it.
And Finchie was saying that he had a conversation with you earlier in the season when things were going a little rough and just said, hey, what does a successful season look like for you? And you said, let's just get to the playoffs, win around, and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Given that you exceeded that, like, how do you view what you guys were able to do, ultimately?
Oh, yeah, we thought it was going downhill. we thought it was over for us. I mean, at one point we was looking real bad. It was bad for us. Then we had got hurt. But like Mike said, we turned it around. And I remember having that conversation with him, like, we just got to get to the playoffs and we'll figure it out. So yeah, man, we did pretty good this year, man. We just came up short again. And yeah, try to do it again next year.
And does it take a little while, like last year, to realize the finality, to realize how close you might have gotten once the conference final ends?
How close I might have gotten to the
15.
finals?
Yeah.
I mean, we lost. I can't think about how close I might have gotten. We lost. That's all that matters. They was the better team. They came out and beat us, punched us in the face, and we lost the game. We lost the series.
And when you say nobody's going to work harder than you this summer, do you have any particular things that you want to work on headed into this offseason?
Yeah, I'm not gonna give out that information. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that in house this time.
Mike, what was, from a basketball standpoint, what was missing to be able to win this series?
Well, I think you look at the way that they played, and their movement, their body movement, their connectivity, in a sense that, their IQ, the things that they were doing, the adjustments they were making, were just a level above us. We were just a step slow at all those things, which kind of gave them,
Like they on one string.
yeah, they were like on one string. Defensively, they had
15 couplers on one string.
They had a plan. They executed it, and they didn't deviate from it. Those guys really, really locked in on that, and you can tell on both ends of the floor. It didn't matter, who scored, who had the ball. They were just finding an open person and making the next reads and things that we've gotten better at, but we're still working towards. I think so. We got a lot of room to grow and get better at it.
The last question to Jason.
Mike Orient, it seemed like watching them play defense kind of reminded me of watching you guys in like the Denver series a year ago, just the physical tenacity and really taking it to them. Not a bad defense this year by any stretch, but not at that level. What is it going to take in your minds, or is it possible to get back to that level of defense?
Okay.
You got it.
Right now I'm not sure, but I know that the frustrating part is that we've had that level of defense, and that we need to, whatever that is, to get it back. We have to find that that effort, that attention to detail. At this stage, I think it was more the details that we were slipping on, not so much the effort, not so much the personnel. We had a lot of guys that can guard. A lot of guys that one-on-one can guard, and team defense and stuff like that. But it was slippage on the next steps. You know what I mean? Like the higher IQ things that we have to just get better at. So I think those are things that we'll have to improve for us next season.
Thanks, guys.